This was a special day for sure. This is something that I've always wanted to do. It looked much different than I expected it. 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I envisioned that this day would come after I was done playing my last game as a Panther. But this is a business, and it don't always work out the way that we plan for it to work out. But I'm just happy that this day was able to happen and happen the way that it did.
I told Coach Rule in our last meeting before I got released, and now, subsequently, even again today, I don't know him real well, but as just a fan of the Carolinas and with kids that are going to grow up and be Panther fans, I hope they find success. I hope they do well. I cheer for them. I root for them. I'm pulling for them.
Hey, welcome to Pro Football Report on ADSN. Hey, Panthers got a lot of things going on. Colin, I know it's been a busy offseason for you. Daughter's birthday today, so we got to get you on and get you off. Get you moving, man.
Oh, don't even sweat.
Happy birthday for
I appreciate that, Buck. I appreciate that. It's all good. I'm here to dedicate my time to the Pro Football Report. We're ready to go, buddy. Let's make this thing happen.
Yeah, so the Panthers have said goodbye to two legends, Greg Olsen and Thomas Davis, two great Panther legends. I think the one thing that you can say about both of those guys is what they brought to this organization and this ball club, but also to the community.
Today, we pay tribute to two outstanding individuals, two who are the embodiment of class, toughness, sacrifice, dignity, hard work, and grace under pressure. And then we'll honor their husbands, Thomas Davis and Greg Olsen, who played football for the Carolina Panthers.
You never know in life how change is going to impact you going forward. And it was the single greatest thing that ever happened to Kara and I, single greatest thing that ever happened to my family was coming from Chicago, relocating to Carolina, and being a part of building what we were able to build here.
Man, this place, man. This place for me, man, it changed my whole life, man. It changed the whole trajectory of my family's life. Every time I walk into this building, I'm constantly reminded of all of the people that have poured into this place, all of the people that have poured into my life.
To just be in this room with friends and family is the highlight of my career. So first and foremost, Mr. Tepper, thank you for inviting my family back. It means a great deal. You know how we feel about this community. To be here and look across the room and see people we consider family.
Man, you guys have been everything to me, man. You're gonna always be brothers to me. I'll always be there for y'all if y'all ever need me for anything. And I know without a doubt that y'all gonna always be here for me.
The catches come and go, the wins come and go. I just took great pride in my teammates having their respect, having their love, and I hope when it's all said and done, that's how people remember me. So thank you guys all so much for all of that. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
I can remember Thomas Davis when he was a safety at Georgia. I was calling games, and Manny Diaz, I think, was his defensive coordinator or his coach, and he kept saying, I don't think he's going to stay at safety, but he's going to be a hell of an NFL player. And sure enough, he turned out to be a great one.
I'll tell you what, he called a good one on that one right there. And it was a good move from him. Yeah, man, he moved to that linebacker, the outside linebacker spot. He didn't lose a step in that speed, of course. And I think what's more to note, I mean, when you speak about, those both of those legends in this community, like you talked about, it really, really speaks well and speaks all, to those guys' character and who those men were and who they are. I'm sorry, I don't want to say were, who they are, because their legacy doesn't end with their retirement as, from the Panthers or from the NFL, I should say. Their legacy is only beginning, and the opportunities these men have to actually dedicate to some off the field opportunities are now presenting themselves. So it's exciting, an opportunity that you and I have gone through, and it's just a part of the game. And now it's time for those guys to explore those other opportunities. And I know both those guys will do great things in their next walks. That's for sure.
Too many hits to the head. Brian Van Gorder. I've had some Manny Diaz stories, but that wasn't Manny. That was Brian Van Gorder. Let me get that corrected at Georgia. But nonetheless, still, it was a great situation for him to transition. And I'll talk about Greg Olsen from a tight end perspective. Really came in and had an outstanding career. He and Cam worked so well together. And I always tell people, they talk about the wide receivers and the simpatico nature of wide receivers and quarterbacks. But if you have a really good tight end, it always makes the quarterback feel so much better. And Cam had such a synergistic relationship with Greg Olsen and was always able to find him on 2nd and long or 3rd and long. You always saw Greg Olsen Cam looking for Greg on those corner routes or those deep ends. You saw that in practice a lot, I'm sure yourself, when you guys are trying to stop them in scrimmages, him finding Greg Olsen consistently.
The thing about, that firsthand, but how important a tight end is to an offense. You already know how important that is. The thing about Greg Olsen, when I think about it, is I think about back in 2010. At the time I was with the Seahawks, he was with the Bears, and we had come off of winning the big NFC wild card game against New Orleans Saints. The big beast mode run, all that good stuff. So we were riding high off of that victory, man. And then that following week, we had to go to Soldier Field to play that Bears team. And it was a hard-fought game, but one of the strongest memories I have of that game is Greg Olsen. On the first series of that drive, Greg Olsen catching a bomb from Cutler over my man Law Dog Lloyd Malloy, and then later on in that game, him catching another pass, and he got the wheels turning, and that's my first memory of him. And then I played with him. It was pretty amazing. But I think like I said, the ability that he showed there in Chicago, then to be traded to an organization like Carolina, I don't know who made the decision to go forward with that trade and allow one of the best tight ends ever to play the game, to get out. But Carolina fans, myself included, are all excited and thankful that they did make that decision. And we're blessed to be able to see his ability throughout the years. And you're absolutely right, with being that safety net for Cam over the years has just been amazing. And to have that guy, that tool that's a tight end that's always there available, kind of that safety net, you can actually speak to how important that guy is. So, it's a huge honor to have had him here. And that's, it's a part of that next step.
Well, tight ends have to make those first downs, but both of those guys were great in the community and great players for the Panthers. Well, if you think about the Panthers organization, Scott Fitterer, the new general manager, you have some ties with him also from Seattle. Tell us a little bit about that and tell us your interaction or what you know about him and what his designs are to help kind of build this Panther ball club.
Well, from my understanding, I had the opportunity to be around that organization, like we already know. Had the opportunity to be back in Seattle a couple of years ago, and just to see how he had climbed the ranks throughout the years, and to see where he was a couple of years ago, being the director of pro personnel, I believe, or college personnel, to see where he is now. It just really shows that one, he's coming from a program that has been proven in terms of actually making it to the playoffs in probably one of the hardest divisions in football, aside from the NFC South. And two, he's been around good players, he's been around good coaches, he's been around good personnel. So he's a guy who's going to come in with a fresh set of eyes, a fresh set of thoughts, and definitely, help lead this program where it needs to get back to. And I have all the confidence that he'll be able to do so. But I think that's the biggest part is right now, amidst this COVID situation, when you don't have the combine, you have very limited access to these guys. This is going to be a very difficult situation that he's stepping into with this coaching staff. So I'm interested to see where they go from here, considering where they've, kind of capitalizing on some of the gains that they've had over the last year. Obviously, bringing him in here with the fresh thoughts, but it's a difficult situation. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen over these next few weeks to kind of see where they right this boat and the direction they're going to go in.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point. If we talk about draft, we'll start on defense. Remember last year, all of the defensive guys, every draft pick was a defensive player. And those young guys have really started to step up and make plays for them. And I think that's really, from Derek Brown all the way to Jeremy Chen, there's a bunch of names there. But this season, as you go into it, and this offseason, where on defense do the Panthers really need to hang their hat? I think I know what you're going to say, but I'm not going to put words in your mouth.
Well, I mean, I think that there's always a need at every level. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, like you said, is the need for defensive presence is what they went for last year. And you expect to see some growth from those guys moving forward. And, you have a couple staples in Jeremy Chen and Derek Brown and what those guys were able to do. I think that there's going to definitely be some areas. I mean, we can't forget that we have some guys that are departed on the offensive side. Definitely offensive line is going to be an area of interest. But keeping it on the defensive side, I would say that some inside linebackers area that they're going to probably try to address. I think they're going to try to address the cornerback position as well. So I think that, and you have to, you can't replace the K1 Short. However, you still have to build. I think that they have some good tools already in place, and I think they'll continue to build. They had Bravion Roy that played very well for them last year, amongst others. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity for them to going into this draft to evaluate some good talent, see what they can do, and pick up on the defensive side, probably in the later rounds, I would say.
Yeah, you don't want me to talk about D-line because I know you can still suit them up. I know I've watched you work out. I've seen you run. I know you got 5 plays in you. Everybody asks that, but I always tell them, one play and it better be a big one because I'm done after that.
That's right. But you have not seen me run. You may have seen me move some weight, but you ain't seen me run. So no. The only lacing up I'm going to do is in a tutoring role. If they call me in and say, hey, we need a consultant to come in and show these guys hand placement or something along that nature, that's about all I'm good for these days. I couldn't take on the double team like I used to. I promise you that.
I hear you. Well, D-line is going to be an area. Cornerback, they need more depth. Look at the offensive side. Taylor Moton recently signed the franchise tender, so that's good for the offensive line. Quarterback, I know there are a lot of people. There's some question that, hey, is Teddy the guy? Is he not? I still think the book should read on Teddy that he should still have a chance here, but you never know what's going to happen from an offensive perspective, especially with all the things swirling around potentially a trade for a Deshaun Watson or some of these other quarterbacks on the market. And then I think O-line, you still have to address in particular left tackle on the offensive side.
No question. I agree with you with all those. The question obviously is who's going to take the snaps from under center. That's going to be the biggest one going into the season. I agree with you. I think that Teddy definitely showed that he has the ability to lead this team. It's difficult, when you're under pressure a lot, you have to make things happen, but at the end of the day, I think he's still a guy that can move the ball for this team. I think he's definitely somebody who should come back and compete and if nothing else, help tutelage a young guy that you bring in somewhere along in the draft or if not after the draft. So I think that's a guy that you hang your hat on who's proven that he can win ball games for you in this league, and I don't see sense in not bringing him back. Taylor Moton, I think, is a staple on an offensive line. So giving him that franchise tag is going to be is good for him, and I think it's good for this team. And I agree with you in terms of the offensive line.
Yeah, I think the big thing too is just making sure that McCaffrey's healthy all year. And I think you and I have talked about this a lot during the year on this show, but even off the show, having somebody else that can step up consistently to take some of the onus off of him. And we saw Mike Davis become that guy last year. Now the two of them together can be a wonderful tandem if you can keep both of them healthy.
Yes, I agree with you. And you're right. I mean, for anybody to really be able to reach their full potential, having that other player, having that guy to be able to come in and spell you is a huge feat for them. So if they can have both those guys healthy moving into the 2021 season, I think that the running game will definitely reach higher levels. Obviously, they got to address some of those issues along the offensive line. And I think that second year, going into the second year, I think Coach Rule will definitely have a lot more focus there and expect quite a bit more from those guys. So I'm excited to see, the pieces that they're able to get between the draft and everything else to plug in, especially free agents who may be able to come in and help right away, solidify some of those spots along the offensive line.
Well, after a 5-1 season last year, they have the 8th overall pick this year. And I thought this was interesting. think about the 8th pick that the Panthers have had over the years and that history. Tim Batuka in 1996, 2003, Jordan Gross, and in 2017, Christian McCaffrey. So some real big names. I know Tim was a little bit banged up, but when he was healthy, he had a pretty productive career. Jordan Gross had a nice career at his time here, and then Christian McCaffrey, the book is still there. But at the 8th pick, where do you think the Panthers go? And what that's the thing for me. What's going to take place there? There's so many needs, but where do they end up going with that 8th pick?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I got to do a lot more digging to be able to give you that.
Yeah.
Honestly, but at this point, we know they need something along that offensive line. So I wouldn't be surprised if they look for something along that offensive line. However, I also wouldn't be surprised with that pick if they don't look for something in the quarterback position. I wouldn't be surprised. However, there's definitely some areas of need. And, I think the biggest thing right now is just solidifying, especially those guys up front. They got to be able to protect whoever's taking those snaps.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. It's really about the board. And that's why I was teasing you, because at this juncture, it's so far away from the draft. We haven't had any of the pro days. You're so far away and so far removed. But you start, all these things, these boards start coming out on the Panthers going to pick here. And I'm like, how do you know that? We have so much time in between, the off season and then the actual draft itself.
Yes, but that's what guys. Everybody loves football, right? You got to have something to talk about. So they're going to throw names around. We're going to do reports on all these individual guys, and it's going to be like, well, who's going to? Some of these guys won't even be available. It's like, what do you even choose at these positions? So, yeah, I think at the number 8 pick, the franchise has done a great job over the years and landed some very good players. So I think they will not fall short this year. We know that they have a number of needs, and at that number 8 pick, you'll be able to get the pick of your litter in terms of that. So I'm excited to see who's gonna fall to them. They got some staples again on both sides. It's just gonna come down to what's the best available, in my opinion.
So Colin, take a look at the first round of the last few years. Think about it in 2020. Derek Brown was a 7th pick. Brian Burns, the 16th pick. DJ Moore in 2018, the 24th pick. And then Christian McCaffrey that sat there at the 8th pick. That's some really solid players and guys that have made some contributions to this Panther ball club.
Yes. Each and every one of them has played meaningful downs, has started games for this organization. And I would say that they did not miss on any of those picks. The steal being Brian Burns and even DJ Moore, considering how he turned it on at the end of the season last year. He was a beast. I would say he took over that number 1 role as a receiver. So, I would say that the Panthers, especially over these last number of years, have really done a good job of getting good quality guys who fit the scheme, fit the build, and can really be plugged in anywhere along both offense and defenses. Especially, we've seen Brian Burns line up at defensive end, but we've also seen Brian Burns line up at outside linebacker covering people. So the ability
versatility, we talked about that,
exactly.
Yeah.
And we've seen DJ Moore obviously in the slot. We've seen him out wide, but we've seen DJ Moore take snaps out of the backfield. So these guys, we already know what CMC can do. We already know what DB's abilities are at this point. So I think that they're doing a great job moving forward. So have done a great job, but I would say moving forward, what I don't see in this list is offensive line. So I wouldn't be shocked if that was. I wouldn't see if that was the direction that the organization went in this upcoming draft.
Well, if you go to 2016, that was Vernon Butler, D tackle, who was no longer with the ball club. 2015, Shaq Thompson, which was a huge pick, and then 14, Kelvin Benjamin, who basically ate himself out of his position and out of the league. With the talent that he had, but just couldn't stay healthy and couldn't push away at times the way he needed to. So, if you look at that, there've been some guys that have been some clear hits, and there's a few misses after they didn't play as well. I want to go back quickly to just 2020 in that draft, and I think there were some people that were shocked and outraged that they went all defense. I thought that was great. I thought that's what they needed to do. And if you look at the list of guys that, whether it's Troy Pride, Kenny Robinson, Stanley Thomas, Oliver. I mean, anybody on that list that has maybe, they didn't make a contribution. I think, Derek Brown did, and Gross Mattis did, and Jeremy Chen. There were some real contributions from that draft as a defensive perspective, and I thought that was a wise move in my part, or in my thoughts, that the Panthers did last year. What about you?
Well, I would say that they definitely decided that there were some areas that they needed to address right away, and they were not going to leave those things to chance. And when you draft guys, you really you put it out there that you're trying to grow in some areas. You mentioned the guys that played some meaningful downs. Derek Brown, Jeremy Chen played a lot of meaningful downs in the hunt for Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie Defensive Player of the Year. You can't forget. You mentioned him, and I don't forget. Itor Matos. That guy was projected to be the first-round draft pick last year. He was projected in the first round for sure. He came in and played some meaningful downs in rotational conversation. But then you look at Jeremy Chen again, outside linebacker, safety position, the flexibility, the ability to play both, the ability to stay on the field, basically 100% of the time on defensive snaps. But then you got a guy like Troy Pride who also stepped in and started meaningful downs for you as well. Yeah. Bravion Roy, who stepped in at 3 technique and the nose tackle position. And I would say everybody, Kenny Robinson and Stanley for all guys suited up. You know what I'm saying? I would say that, in my years of playing, not every draft has every player that you draft actually suit up and play games for you. So everybody actually played for this organization, made the team. That doesn't always happen. So I would say that they know what they were looking for. They attacked those areas of need. Those guys stepped in, whether it be in a special teams role, meaning, there'd be a third down cornerback or, a third down rotational defensive tackle. However they sliced it, they got everybody that they draft in the mix, and those guys contributed to the team. They got a chance to evaluate those guys, decide what they want to go with moving forward. So as long as they continue that formula, I think that they'll be in good hands moving forward.
You mentioned Bravion Roy. That's Phil Snow, defensive coordinator, came from Baylor, knew him well. You were talking about him leading into the draft and after the draft, but also the work that you did with him in the offseason. I think that's a critical thing when you have young players like that. He was a 6th-round pick and contribute and play a lot of meaningful downs. That's what the Panthers have to do. I think people always look at the first round, but I really like to dig into the draft and see because that's where your money's made. That's where your scouts. That's why Scott Fitterer is now a GM, because he was able to do that at Seattle. Anytime you see these guys that catapult from scouting departments or pro player personnel directors, when they're able to get through the college scouting ranks to get to a GM level, it's because they do the work. They grind and they find guys that are not the sexiest picks, but the guys that can stay there 10, 15 years. So good point. So go ahead, Colin.
I was just going to add to that, even beyond the draft. You talk about guys like myself as an undrafted free agent to be able to play. Guys that are undrafted free agents step in and get the opportunities, and they fill out that roster. Guys that are on your practice squad, especially a year like this past year where you had an X amount of extra numbers for guys in those practice squad positions. You got guys that are undrafted free agents that can come in and get a chance to get some good work and get an opportunity to get on the field. Guys like an F.A. Obata, guys that didn't actually, get drafted, that get a chance to play meaningful downs and show that they have ability to get on the field and, make a career out of it.
We're going to do a whole show and a whole segment on that because I think people undervalue guys like yourself and guys that have had to come through the undrafted free agent rank and make it and then prosper and play a long time in the league. That's not an easy thing to do. We'll spend more time on that. And I think more people need to understand. I see it so much in football, and I've witnessed it with so many other guys that I've played with or played against that have had great, great long careers because of that. So, hey, one thing is that was amazing to me in the research that we did for the show, that we've had some Clemson Tigers on the Carolina Panthers ball club, but there's never been one drafted by the club. There's never been a Clemson player drafted. And that was interesting to me. So I think the biggest thing about that, Leroy Etienne, could he be that 8th player pick? Got a lot of potential and a guy that we know could be in that realm. I don't know if they'll go that route, but it's an interesting topic because Clemson had their pro day the other day. I got to see him a lot in college. What do you think about Etienne? Even if he doesn't come to the Panthers, what do you think he can do at that next level?
Well, I think Travis Etienne has proven himself. Isn't he the all-time leading rusher in the ACC? I think that his ability to run in between the tackles has been proven. His ability to break tackles outside, and get on the outside perimeter and make people miss. I mean, he's got every facet to the game. That Clemson offense is very dynamic. They ask him to do a lot. It's obviously it's not a pro style offense. However, a lot of the things that they ask him to do are very similar to what you would see NFL caliber offense running backs have to do. So it won't be much for him to make that transition. Will he be the number 8 pick? That would be a great thing for him, being so close. However, is that a need that you have with that pick, considering you have both CMC and Mike Davis in your backfield right now? Do you go ahead and add a guy like that? That's a tough one to kind of make out, in my opinion. Anyway, that's just me. But, regardless, he will definitely be a first-day pick, in my opinion, can step in and help an offense right away. And like I said, he can do everything that you ask of him, between catching passes, in terms of screens, swing passes, get out on routes. We're looking at a guy who could be, another Alvin Kamara if put in the right system. So we'll see what happens. That's what the intrigue and excitement about the draft. That's why we got this. We can play all these different scenarios. We can say all these different things, but it's until that actually happens that we get to see, how these guys, where they shake out, where they end up, and how they end up, and how their careers end up overall.
Colin, I'll say this. I've been around Clemson a little bit. I've called quite a few of their games. I've got to know their program just from the outside like everybody else. One thing that I can remember, Tony Elliott could not stop gushing about how good he was as a freshman. And that's because of the speed. But now they have refined his game, because I remember his first year, there was some complaints from some of their internal coaches saying, hey, he has to learn how to break tackles. I have seen him make plays now where he will break tackles. And then the next thing was pro pass protection, and then also can he catch out of the backfield. The one guy that I played with was Marshall Faulk, who had that home run ability. Etienne had that as a freshman, and it's only gotten better. So if he doesn't come to the Carolina Panthers, wherever he goes, he's going to be a problem to deal with, and you're going to have to corral him quick, because you said it best. That Alvin Kamara thing stands out, because a guy that can stop and start and then be up to full speed in one step, that's a problem for any defense to stop.
Yes.
And defensive coordinator stay up there. That gives them heartburn. That might give them ulcers.
Completely. And then you got a guy, again, we have a guy here in 22 who you split out as a wide receiver, and you put him in a position to be one-on-one with a guy who's not used to covering people. So he's going to fit in. He's going to become somebody who's going to, be that mismatched guy, again, that can be split out, again, can catch balls from the backfield, again, can like you said, the important things like being pass pro on third down, being able to be on the field every single down. He will be able to sustain and be able to be that every down back. So we'll see what happens.
We had a chance to catch up with the Jennings, Louisiana native, and hear some sound from this pro day.
Right now, I just want me to enjoy the process. Told me to enjoy the process. Don't take anything for granted. Just take it day by day. And I really just hone in on my craft and really just take advantage of each and every opportunity that I have. I'm one of the best skilled guys in the draft. I'm able to do it all. I feel like I had that component to that team to the next tier. I feel like me being in the game, I just possess a lot of things that just God given, and most guys don't possess. So I feel like it's just in me. And just you seeing the film, I'm able to be out there 3 downs, be able to play special teams. So just being able to impact the team each and every down, I feel like those will make me different and make me worried at the first round. I just want to be a great role model to my little brother and the kids back in Jennings, Louisiana. Not everyone has a shot at the NFL, and I just wanted to be a token to those kids who's not going to have that shot. I still want them to go out there and strive and try to get a college degree, graduate, because that degree is going to last them a lifetime. Football is going to be over a couple of years. I'll still be young, but I have my degree and I'll be able to transition in life that much easier.
So Travis Etienne, great young player. We'll see where he ends up. I know Pro Day was good for him, and I think for all these young guys. Hey, Colin, I think the way things are going, we're getting these vaccinations out. It seems like people are getting there. We should have stadiums that will have some capacity. We don't know where that's going to go, but I think President Biden is saying by the 4th of July, things could be changing for us. So I don't know about you. I'm getting excited about it. I'm getting excited.
You know what? But I saw the other night that they're allowing people into the Hornets game, so I'm excited. Yeah, things are starting to get back to that point. You know, hopefully we get to that point. You know, by the 4th of July, that would be a dream. But yeah, I'm glad that we're moving towards that direction. I'm glad that we have proper representation to lead us back to where we need to go.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, hey, man, thanks for joining again on the Pro Football Report on ADSN. I know you got to go take care of your daughter, get that birthday cake, balloon. Are you going to dress up as anything other than a football player, or are you just going as daddy?
Hey, she's 12 years old. She knows daddy. She's good. She's good. We're going to have, just like you said, the cake, the balloons, and, you know, just enjoy the evening and, you know, maybe some, I don't know, some board games. We'll see. I don't know.
Well, we appreciate it. Happy birthday to Colin Cole's daughter at 12. And thank you for joining us. And, hey, man, we're going to be doing this throughout the offseason. Look forward to doing it again. Talk to you soon.
Take care.